Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, starting with Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, 8 lines from the bottom at the new Mishnah. Our Mishnah discusses various items that you might think are prohibited and therefore it cannot be used for Erev Techumim. And then the Mishnah comes to Mechadesh that you could, yes, use these items for Erev Techumim. The Sefer of the Mishnah goes on to say things that are indeed also to eat and they cannot be used for Erev Techumim. We find a similar list that's stated over here in other places in Shas. For example, we have a similar list in regards to the 7th parak in Brachos, making a zimun. We also find in Masechet Shabbos in the 18th parak in regards to being mefane, different things to give space, to take things out in order to then have more room for guests or for a shiur in Torah. Also, we find in the 2nd parak in Psochim, in regards to matzah, this similar list, things that you might think cannot be used for your matzah, kamash malan, they could be used. Says our Mishnah, ma'arvin b'demai. The first item is demai. Demai means do ma, meaning what is it? When a person purchases tevuah from an Am Ha'aretz, he doesn't know, did the Am Ha'aretz take the maestros from this tevuah? And therefore, Chachamim said that a person who does acquire tevuah from an Am Ha'aretz must take out himself the trumas and maestros. So here the Mishnah tells us that one is enabled to then use demai for the Erev Techumim. The Mishnah goes on to say, as a hagdama to the rest of the Mishnah, when a person has a field in Eretz Yisrael, so he's required to take out trumas and maestros. So the first thing he's supposed to take out when it becomes obligated in trumas and maestros, the grain has already become now something that's considered to be a finished product. Then he is obligated first to take out truma gedola, midiaraisa, it's in any amount. Midirabanan, it's 1/40th, 1/50th, or 1/60th of that produce. Then he's to take out. The first is the Meiser Rishon. That 10% is now given to the Levi. The Levi takes from his Meiser Rishon what's called Trumas Meiser, means takes 10% of that and gives it to a Kohen. The next thing the Balasada takes out, after taking out the Truma Gedola to the Kohen and the Meiser Rishon, 10% to the Levi, he's to take out another 10%, depending on the year. If it's the 1st, 2nd, 4th, or 5th year of the Shemitah cycle, he takes out Meiser Sheni. And that 10%, he then brings to Yerushalayim and he eats in Yerushalayim. If he is not able to bring all of that to Yerushalayim because it's too cumbersome, he's permitted to then be poide that produce onto a matbeya and then bring that matbeya, those coins, to Yerushalayim and then purchase food and eat the food in Yerushalayim. On the other years of the Shemitah cycle, namely the 3rd and the 6th years, it's the 10% goes to Anim. It's called Meiser Ani. Says the Mishnah of a Meiser Rishon shenotla trumasoi. In the case of the Meiser Rishon, which we said, here he takes off the Meiser Rishon, that would be the order of events, and then he would take out Trumas Meiser. So over here, it says that if he did that, you can go ahead and use that produce for your Erev Techumim. The Gemara will have to explain the Chiddush. After all, why not? If he took out the Trumas Meiser, as well as he took out the Meiser Rishon and the Trumas Meiser, why not? The next item on the list is of Meiser Sheni vehekte sheniftu. He took the Meiser Sheni that was too cumbersome to bring all to Yerushalayim, so therefore he was poide the Meiser Sheni, or he was poide the consecrated, the hekdesh. And here it says, again, you can use that for Erev Techumim. And again, we have to understand the Chiddush over here, the Gemara will explain. Ve'ha-kohanim bechalo v'truma. Kohanim themselves can go ahead and use the challah, which is given to them as a matana, similar to truma. And the truma, that can be used for the Erev Techumim. And over here, Kohanim is lav dachka, even a Yisrael can go ahead and use challah and truma for their erev techumim because a kohen could eat it. Avaloi betevel. Now the second part of the Mishnah teaches us a list of things that are not permitted to be eaten and therefore they cannot be used for erev techumim. Avaloi betevel. You can't go ahead and use tevel that's untithed. Things that trumas and mice are not taken off from that produce that you cannot use for your erev tchumin. V'loi, again, we'll have to find the chiddush because that's straightforward. V'loi b'maiser rishon shelo notu trumosoi. Here again, if you didn't take maiser rishon, you didn't take the truma from the maiser rishon, then of course, again, that is going to be a state of tevel. That's something that cannot be used for erev tchumin. What's the chiddush? The Gemara will explain. V'lo b'maiser shein v'hekdesh shelo niftu. If he wasn't poideh, the Meiser Sheni and the Hekdesh, again, that seems to be straightforward why he cannot use it for Erev Tchumin. The Gemara will explain its Chiddush as well. Says the Gemara, Demai. Again, Demai we said is Doma. What is this? Meaning when he was acquiring it from an Am Ha'aretz, the suspicion is that the Am Ha'aretz did not take out the proper Meisers, and therefore the one who purchased it is obligated to do so. Ask the Gemara, behold, it is not fitting to be eaten by the one who purchased it from the Am Ha'aretz if he did not yet take out Trumas and Meiser. So why can he use the Mai for Erev Tchumin? So here, seemingly the Gemara is asking, according to the opinion of Sumchus, that says that you have to be able to then go ahead and eat yourself the item, in this case the Demai. To which the Gemara says, Migu di'iboi mafkir luhu l'nachosei v'havei ani. Since if he were to be mafkir all of his property and become an ani, then hashtanami have chazilei. So now it would also be chazi to him. In other words, the ani can eat demai. It is permissible for the ani to eat demai. So Sumcha says, but what about the person himself? He's making the erev tchumim. He has to be able to have access to eat the item. So the Gemara is telling us that since he can mafkir his nechasim and become an ani, thereby it will be fitting for him to eat demai. So therefore it's going to be valid to use for erev tchumin. Desnan, now the Gemara is mochiach, where we know that anim can eat demai. It says in the Mishnah, machinas anim demai. The Mishnah tells you can feed anim demai. The Mishnah goes on to say, ves achsanya demai, and also those soldiers that are soldiers of Malchei Yisrael, they can also be given demai. Is really the same yesoid, because since they are not situated in their own cities, they are like anim. When they are now found in other people's cities, they can go ahead and eat the demai as well. On top of Aleph Amud Beis, Omar Rav Huna Tana. Rav Huna brings the following brayso to say this is a machlekes. Beis Shammai oimim ein ma'achin es anim demai. Beis Shammai is the opinion you cannot feed the anim demai. Ubeis Hillel oimim ma'achin es anim demai. And of course this Mishnah is like Beis Hillel. The next item on the list was Uv Meiser Rishon Shenotla Trumasoi. We said that the Levi, he gets his Meiser, the Balasada gives the Meiser Rishon to the Levi, that's 10% of his produce, and the Levi takes out Trumas Meiser, which is 10% of that, given to the Kohen. So if he did that, why should that be a problem? What is the Chiddush? Ask the Gemara Pshita. That's straightforward that you can use that for Erev Techumin. Answers the Gemara, Lo tzricha shehigdimu b'shiboilin. V'notla mimena trumas meiser, v'lo notla mimena truma gedola. Here the Mishnah is talking about where he preceded, meaning the Balasada gave inadvertently, let's say, to the Levi his meiser rishon before giving truma gedola to the Kohen. The first thing the Balasada has to give is truma gedola to the Kohen, and he didn't do that. So the meiser rishon that was given to the Levi, granted that the Levi takes out Truma's Meiser, but there was no Truma Gedola that was taken off. So you might think it becomes invalid. Kamash Malan, you can use it for your Erev Techumin. Ukeder be Abo, Amar Ish Lakish. The Amar be Abo, Amar Ish Lakish. Meiser Rishon Shehigdimu B'Shiboilin. Pater mit Truma Gedola. If Meiser Rishon was given to the Levi before the grain became chayiv in trumas and meisers, then it's pater from Truma Gedoyla. And that's what happened over here as well. And since there's pater from Trumas and Meisers when he took the Truma, the Meiser Rishon, so therefore, even though he now can no longer give the Truma Gedoyla because it's after the stage where he was given Meiser Rishon, and he forgot to then give the Truma Gedoyla, the Baal HaSada, to the Kohen, it does not preclude the rest of the Trumas and Meisers from being valid, and therefore over here as well can be used for Erev Techumin. Shneimar brings a posuk, V'hari moisem mimenu Trumas Hashem. Meiser mina Meiser. Here it's talking about the Truma, the Meiser Rishon that was given to the Levi. He's to take out Meiser, Trumas Meiser from that Meiser Rishon. Meiser mina Meiser amarti lecho. You take Meiser from the Meiser, meaning Trumas Meiser from the Meiser Rishon, that's what the Levi takes out and gives to the Kohen. V'loi Truma Gedoyla Trumas Meiser mina Meiser, and not the Truma Gedoyla and Trumas Meiser from the Meiser, and therefore that's going to still be valid again in a situation where the grain was not yet chayiv in Trumas Meisers, and it skipped the first stage of giving Truma Gedoyla to the Kohen. Rav Papa challenges Abaye and he says, if that's so, afilu higdimu bikri nami, then say the same thing even after the grain was already complete. In other words, it was already piled up and smoothed out, where it becomes now chayiv in Trumas and Meisers. Here, we don't say that if the Meiser Rishon was first given to the Levi and it inadvertently was not given Truma Gedoyla to the Kohen, we do not say it becomes valid. So why don't we say that? Ask Rav Papa. Let's say the same thing. That should be also valid. Or Marley, Abai responds to Rav Papa, Alecha Makro, to the response to you is the posuk itself. Mikol ma'asroiseichem tarimu es kol trumas Hashem. From all of your Meisers, you'll take all of the truma of Hashem. Meaning to say, all of the truma that's obligated. Meaning to say, the Truma Gedoyla first, and then the Trumas Meiser. Umare Isa, what did you see, as Rav Papa, that this is going to be said in regards to the case where a Kri was already made and the Dagon, meaning the grain rather, was already considered to be now in its complete stage where it's Chayiv and Trumas and Meisers? Because it says, Hi idgon v'hai lo idgon. Because once it's already piled up and smoothed out, it's called dagon. It's called grain that is chayiv and trumas and meisers. That no longer has the ability to then skip a stage of Truma Gedoyla. But if it does not yet have the finished product of the grain, it was not yet in a pile and smoothed out, then indeed it's valid. The Gemara now brings the next item in the Mishnah of Meiser Sheni v'hekdei sheniftu. They were poide the Meiser Sheni as well as the hekdesh. Ask the Gemara, if that's so pshita, you can use that for your Erev Techumin. Answers the Gemara, lo tzricha shenosan es hakeren v'lo nosan es hachomesh. Because when they were poide, they poide and they gave the keren, the principal value, but they didn't add a chomesh, which is what is required when you're poide either the Meiser Sheni or the Hekdesh. The Kamash Malan, the Ein HaChomesh Ma'akev. And the Chiddush over here is that even though he did not add a Chomesh, it's not Ma'akev, and still you can use it here for Erev Techumin. The second set of the list on our Mishnah are those items that are also to be eaten, and therefore they cannot be used for your Erev Techumin. The first one is Avaloi B'Tevel. One cannot use Tevel, that's grain that was not yet taken Trumas and Meisers from. That cannot be used for Erev Techumin. In fact, the Gemara Pshita, of course it cannot be used. It's off limits. In fact, if a person were to eat tevel, he'd be chayiv misa b'dei shamayim. Answers the Gemara, lo tzricha, b'tevel tavul midrabanan. We're talking about a tevel that was tavul midrabanan. It was tevel midrabanan. Midyarayis, it's not tevel. But midrabanan, it is tevel. Ukigon shezara oi ba'atzis she'eino nakav. We're talking about where it was planted in a flower pot that did not have holes in it. So midya rice, only if it has holes in it, then we say it gets its yanika directly from the ground. But midrabanan, they added, even if it does not have holes in the flower pot, it also is considered to be tevel, and you have to take tribes and tumas and meisters from it. Says the Gemara, weiter, bringing the next item in the Mishnah, V'lo b'maiser rishon, shelo nitra trumasoi. Here it says that in the maiser rishon that the Levi was given by the Bala Sodeh, he did not take out the truma. So ask the Gemara Pshita, if the Levi did not take out trumas maiser and give it to the kohen, that 10%, certainly it's going to be considered to be tevel. It's not valid. The Gemara says Pshita. Certainly you can't use it for your Erev Tchumin. Answers the Gemara, Lo tzricha shehigdimu bekri, v'notla mimena trumas meiser, v'lo notla mimena truma gedola. Here, it's talking about the stage where he did make the kri. That means the grain was already in a complete stage. It was piled up and it was smoothed out and now is chayiv in trumas and meisers. And here, the first thing that the Bala Sodeh did was he gave the trumas, the meiser rishon to the Levi. He forgot to give truma gedola to the kohen, so he skipped that step. He gave the meiser rishon to the Levi, and the Levi did indeed give the trumas meiser to the kohen. But what was missing over here was the first stage, the truma gedola, and since it was already obligated, the grain was obligated in that truma before he gave the meiser. Therefore, it makes all of the grain invalid. You can't eat it. And that's the chiddush over here. So again, sheikdimo b'kri. Kri is referring to that pile that was now making the grain chayiv and trumas and meisers. V'not l'mena trumas meiser, v'lo not l'mena truma gedola. He did not take truma gedola. So even here, when it says in the Mishnah, b'meiser rishon lo not the trumas, it means he didn't take the truma gedola. And that's what it's referring to over here. But he did take trumas meisers. Ma'u desema, what might you have thought to say? What is the chiddush over here? He didn't take truma gedola. Says the Gemara, Kida Omar le Rav Papa Labai, like Rav Papa said to Abaye earlier, that this should also be potter, even though he skipped the first stage, just like the case when it was not yet a kri. Kamash Malan Kiddushoni le. And therefore, the chiddush is what Abaye came to explain, Rav Papa, the difference being, if it's dogon, because it's already completely a complete stage in the grain where it's chayiv and trumas and meisers, then you can't skip even the first stage of truma gedola. Then the Mishnah brings another item that you cannot use for your Erev Techumin. You were not poide the meiser sheni, and you were not poide the hekdesh. Ask the Gemara Pshita. Of course, you cannot use that grain for your Erev Techumin, because it was not poide, it's still hekdesh. Answers the Gemara, Lo tzricha shepadon v'lo p'ton lahalacha. He did poide it, but he didn't poide it lahalacha. As follows: Ma'aser shepadu al gav asimoin. He took the ma'aser sheni and he was poide onto a coin that did not have a tzura, an asimoin. And the Torah says, V'achmana omar v'tzarta hakesef. You have to then be poida onto a matbeya that has a tzura. Kesef sheish alav tzura. And therefore it's invalid as a pidyon. Hekte shechilu al gabe karka. There, in regards to the consecrated property, he was then poide onto real property, onto karka, instead of onto metaltalin. So this also will be invalid. So here we have a chiddush that even though they did poide the meiser sheni or the hekdesh, but they didn't poide it properly, and therefore you cannot use it for Erev Techumin.